What if I told you that you can be a criminal in someone's eyes for relaxing? For survivors of narcissistic abuse, this is a very real and painful experience. When you've been trained to always be moving, fixing, or pleasing, taking a break can feel like breaking a rule. Let's unpack the 9 ways narcissistic abuse makes you feel guilty for relaxing. Are you ready for number 1? Constantly feeling on call. When you've been around a narcissist long enough, your nervous system starts to believe that being on call is your job, even when you're supposed to be off the clock. You might sit down to watch a show, sip some coffee, or just breathe for a second, and the guilt suddenly shows up uninvited. It whispers, "You should be doing something. What if they need you?" This feeling of being on call is a trauma response. It's the result of being conditioned to anticipate someone else's moods, tantrums, and manipulations 24/7. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, a clinical psychologist and expert on narcissistic abuse, explains this beautifully. Narcissists often create a dynamic where their needs are always urgent, always priority 1. This trains the other person to believe their own needs don't matter. So even when you finally take a moment for yourself, your brain panics like it's breaking some unspoken rule. That's why relaxing feels risky. You were trained to believe that if you're not immediately responsive, something bad will happen, or worse, you'll be blamed. But here's the truth bomb. You're not a customer service hotline for someone else's emotional chaos. You're allowed to rest, recharge, and have peace without explaining or apologizing. You're not neglecting anyone. You're recovering from years of being treated like a convenience store that's always open. Let's talk about number 2, the fear of judgment. Narcissists have this way of twisting your downtime into something ugly, calling you lazy, selfish, or accusing you of not caring enough. Over time, you start internalizing those messages. So even when they're not around, your brain picks up the whip and starts doing their job for them. It's like you've got this imaginary judge in your head, waiting to slap a guilty verdict on you for daring to enjoy your own time. That's why even the thought of relaxing can make you tense up, like you're about to be scolded. You might not even realize how deep that programming runs until you're finally out of the relationship and still can't sit still. You find yourself cleaning the house obsessively or jumping up every time your phone buzzes, not because anyone asked you to, but because you've been wired to expect judgment. It's a toxic little voice that echoes, "You don't deserve rest unless you've earned it." And even then, don't get too comfortable. As life coach Lisa A. Romano puts it in one of her workshops on narcissistic abuse recovery, when you grow up or live under constant emotional surveillance, your nervous system doesn't recognize safety. It associates stillness with danger. So no, you're not lazy for wanting to rest. You're just healing from a system that made rest feel like rebellion. Let's move on to number 3. Internalized pressure for perfection. Narcissists often tie your value to performance, like how well you serve, how spotless the house is, or how perfectly you handled a situation. So relaxing feels like you're failing. The second you try to relax, your brain nudges you with a to-do list, like it's your unpaid boss. That's the internalized pressure to be perfect, whispering that you should be hustling, fixing, or proving something 24/7. Psychologist Dr. Julie de Azevedo Hanks explains this well. Children of narcissistic parents often develop a false self, trying to be perfect to gain approval. This mindset doesn't just vanish when the abuse ends, it lingers. So even your downtime feels like it needs to be justified with receipts and achievements. Perfection isn't even your goal. It was the narcissist's tool to control you. They made you feel like nothing you did was ever enough. So now you carry that inner critic around like a backpack full of bricks. Relaxing isn't just hard, it feels wrong. As trauma therapist Pete Walker puts it in his book, Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving, many survivors develop toxic shame that tells them they're only worthy when they're producing or performing. But you're not a machine. You don't have to earn your worth by being in constant motion. Perfection is a myth, and peace doesn't need permission. Let yourself breathe. You're not here to impress a jury that never clapped anyway. Now, let's continue to number 4. Gaslighting your own needs. Have you ever caught yourself calling your basic needs too much? That's what happens when narcissistic abuse rewires your inner voice. You start gaslighting yourself. You want to rest, but then you hear this voice in your head saying, "You don't need that," or "You're just being dramatic." That's not your authentic self talking. It's the echo of someone who constantly made you feel like your needs were inconvenient or over the top. You start believing that self-care is selfish and that pausing is some kind of failure. So when you finally try to relax, you don't feel peace. You feel guilt, confusion, maybe even shame. And here's the twist. Your body knows you need rest, but your mind's been taught to argue with it. You might say things like, "I'm fine, I can push through," even when you're clearly running on fumes. That's self-gaslighting in action. Therapist Kathy Morton calls this internalized abuse, where the narcissist's voice becomes your own inner narrator. It's like having a judgmental backseat driver in your head that critiques your every move, even when all you're doing is trying to breathe. But rest isn't a luxury. It's a human need. You don't have to earn it. You don't need to justify it. And most importantly, you don't need to explain it to the ghost of someone who never respected your limits to begin with. You shouldn't miss number 5. Look how much I do for you. Guilt tripping. Narcissists love to play the martyr card. Look how much I've done for you, as if every kind gesture they ever made now comes with emotional interest. And when you try to relax, it's thrown in your face like you're ungrateful for daring to breathe without their permission. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, a clinical psychologist and author of Should I Stay or Should I Go?, calls this behavior narcissistic bookkeeping. She explains that narcissists keep a mental tab of every little thing they do, not out of love, but as leverage. So even your well-earned rest becomes ammunition in their game. Your 10 minutes of peace gets framed like an insult to their sacrifices, whether real or wildly inflated. Over time, you start preemptively guilt-tripping yourself before they even get a chance. But here's the truth. Love doesn't come with a receipt. If someone truly cares, they won't weaponize what they've done for you just to make you feel bad. Life coach Shahida Arabi, in her book Becoming This Narcissist's Nightmare, puts it perfectly. Narcissists don't give. They loan with the expectation of emotional repayment. So the next time you hear that guilt-trippy voice in your head, Remind yourself you're not lazy, ungrateful, or selfish. You're just trying to live like a normal human being, not a full-time emotional debt collector. Are you still up for number 6? Associating relaxation with punishment. Narcissistic abuse trains your brain to expect punishment for peace. Every time you tried to relax, the narcissist made sure you paid for it. Maybe they gave you the silent treatment, made snide comments like, "Must be nice to have time to do nothing," or stirred up drama out of nowhere. Over time, your body starts connecting calm with conflict, so even your downtime feels like a setup. Now, your nervous system gets jumpy the second you slow down. You sit to relax, and suddenly you feel uneasy, like you're doing something wrong. That's not laziness. It's a trauma response. Therapist Lisa A. Romano describes this as conditioned hypervigilance, where your brain constantly scans for threats because it's been wired to expect emotional booby traps. So even when you know no one's around to guilt trip you, your body still waits for the blowback. Healing means teaching yourself that rest is not rebellion and calm is not a crime. You deserve peace without the price tag. It just takes time and a whole lot of self-compassion to believe that again. Let's keep it moving to number 7. You feel like you're wasting time by not fixing everything. Narcissistic abuse turns you into a professional problem solver, always hunting for something to fix. The narcissist's world is never fully functional. You end up believing it's your job to patch up the cracks, especially when it comes to them. When you try to relax, a voice inside your head nags at you. You should be doing something. There's a mess somewhere. Something isn't right. This isn't just your regular sense of responsibility. It's the result of narcissistic conditioning. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, author of Should I Stay or Should I Go?, explains that narcissistic abuse can cause you to lose yourself in fixing the narcissist until you forget that your needs matter too. So even when you deserve rest, you feel like you're slacking off. The truth is, you're not wasting time by taking care of yourself. The guilt you feel is an illusion created by the narcissist's manipulation. They made you believe that if you're not actively solving problems, you're not valuable. Life coach Melissa Ambrosini puts it this way: you can't pour from an empty cup. So, instead of wasting time, remember that every moment of relaxation is actually an investment in your ability to be present and useful in a healthier way. You're not lazy for resting. You're recharging so you can be the best version of yourself, one that isn't tethered to someone else's chaos. Finally, we're down to number 9. They sabotage your downtime on purpose. Narcissists are experts at hijacking your peace. The moment you try to rest, suddenly they need you. It's like they have a sixth sense for your serenity and see it as a threat. According to clinical psychologist Dr. Lindsay Gibson, author of Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, narcissists often feel entitled to your time and attention and will disrupt your downtime to reassert control. So even if you plan to relax, your nervous system stays on edge, bracing for the next manufactured emergency. You start to feel guilty before you've even closed your eyes. And here's the sneaky part. You start internalizing it. Your brain's been wired to expect sabotage, so it tries to avoid the fallout before it even happens. Life coach and trauma expert Mastin Kipp puts it like this: your nervous system doesn't care about your dreams, it cares about your survival. So rest starts to feel unsafe. But here's your reminder: their chaos is not your responsibility, and you're allowed to have peace without being punished for it. Feeling guilty for relaxing isn't your fault. It's something you were taught by someone who needed you to stay busy, anxious, or small. But rest isn't laziness, and you don't have to earn it by suffering first. You're allowed to take a breath, do nothing, and just be. Healing means giving yourself that permission without shame. You deserve peace, even if you're still learning how to sit with it.